You really believe that?
I do believe that, yes.
You really believe that stupid thing that you just said?
Welcome back to Asinine Radio, a weekly podcast where we talk about music, and, well, that's pretty much it. So, let's go!
This is Asinine Radio. This is the weekly music podcast where every week we get into a different album from a different artist, and we break down the record, we find out all the secrets about it, and we let you guys all know what's going on with it. My name is Tyler. Way out there, hundreds of miles away, way out there is Jeff. So go to Apple Podcasts, go rate, review, and subscribe to us on there. Follow us on social media at Asinine Radio. We have a phone number that you can call, leave us a voicemail, send us a text message. The phone number is 503-893-5307. So get into that. And we also have a Discord server if you want to join that. Hit us up. We'll send you the link. We'll hang out, talk, whatever you want. You know, we're easy. So that's all I got on the intro. The boring intros. So what are we doing today, Jeff?
We're doing Outkast and their album ATLiens.
Jeff,
man.
what is your
What
is your origin story with the Outkast?
Did you say go or you didn't say go?
Go.
Oh, okay, there we go. I don't do anything until I say go or until I hear go. Yeah. So my origin story is this song. This is the first song that I ever heard by Outkast because it was at like some school-sponsored dance at Rio Vista. And I don't know, we were like 4th grade or some shit when this came out and I don't like it. And so that was like my first intro to Outkast. Yeah, fast forward to like Stankonia.
Mm-hmm.
And Stankonia is when I really started to get more into music. This is 2000. This is right before high school, essentially. And I liked music more. I was more receptive to it. I was way more into hip-hop. And I didn't like Stankonia. I was like, this is what these guys released Stankonia. Yeah, it's got a couple of bangers on it that are pop songs, but this isn't hip hop. And being like my, 8th grade me who was still wearing pulled up socks and Adidas, who was very into gangster rap at the time, this was stupid. This was a joke.
Mm-hmm.
So then fast forward again for a couple years, and I think it was when Hey Ya came out is when I went back and finally listened to, I think it was ATLiens or it was Southern, and I still wasn't impressed. Honestly, still was not impressed. But I liked the way that they vibe off each other. So I give them that. But it honestly wasn't until like a couple years ago. I don't remember what prompted me to get into it. But something happened a couple years ago where I finally went back and really gave I think it was just because so many people had put, I think it was Mark Lenner, friend of the park, Mark. Too bad his name's not Mod, because he's a friend of the pod Mod. Friend of the park Mark. He was like, yeah, dude, like Outkast, they're one of the greatest like rap duos of all time. And I was like, fucking Stankonia guys? No way. And then he was the one that told me to go back and listen to ATLiens. And I think that was the reason why I did. And loved it ever since. Can't get enough of it. And this week has just been a delight. And since we started collecting the vinyls too, like now I'm really into Big Boy, because Big Boy, his first album, Sir Lucius, I got that when we kind of first started collecting, and that was a gamble that I took, and it turned out to be fantastic. And so I'm fully on board with everything Outkast has done, minus Idlewild and Love Below. Other than that, I think everything they do is fucking fantastic. It's great stuff. That's it.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts. So I give this album no, I'm just kidding.
All right. Shortest pod ever. A year. What if that's how every pod was now?
I remember at school too, like everybody always like a year.
I don't
Put your
remember
hands
that.
in the air.
But I was never in that group. Well, I mean, I didn't know you till high school, so there's that.
I went to a very different middle or elementary school than the high school I went to. Very different demographic of people.
Yeah, very, very different.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, so my origin story with Outkast is B.O.B. That was the first song I ever heard. I mean, I was an MTV man back then. That's all I watched was MTV and VH1.
It was good back then.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff, and we'll talk about that even more extensively next week with our album of the week.
Oh God.
But yeah, buckle up, everyone. But yeah, with Outkast, that was the first thing I heard. That video, I mean, the vibrant colors of that video was just like, it draws you in, and the speed and the intensity of that song. It's something you've never heard. B.O.B. is something you would never heard up to that point, at least for me, especially. You know, I'm a fucking white kid. What the fuck do I know? You know, I'm listening to Korn and Limp Bizkit. Who the fuck am I? But yeah, that song really blew me away. And then right after that, I remember the video for oh my God, what is So Fresh So Clean? It came out like right after that, and I remember that video playing even more than B.O.B. So that song and video is ingrained in my head even more so than B.O.B. But yeah, B.O.B. just is on another level. I mean, that was my introduction to the group, but I never went back. Like I listened to the singles after B.O.B., but that was it. I never listened to really any full length. As far as I can remember, I never did. It was just always the singles. So Fresh So Clean, Roses, Hey The Way You Move, which I loved The Way You Move. Like that was, dude, I fucking love that song. Even back then when that came out, I loved that song. The video is fucking weird as hell. I rewatched that video, but man, when that video came out, it was always on. I think that video was on more than Hey Ya was, but it was never as popular, but the video was always on, and it's a weird ass video. So much bad CGI.
I don't even remember the video.
Dude, it's terrible. Like a lot of scantily clad women, which, you know, was normal at the time.
Yeah, big boy side.
But they were like, what they were doing in the videos was just like, they're acting like, it was just weird. It was a weird video, but dude, that song is a banger too. So that's my origin story with Outkast. Just pretty much the singles. And then it wasn't until this week that I actually went back and listened to really any of their records in their entirety, and I was blown away by some of it. There was some really good stuff there. Obviously some stinkers, absolute stinkers, but some pretty good stuff too. So there you go. That's my origin story with Outkast. So, what do you got? What are your first impressions on this record, or do you just want to get into or do we have any stinkers?
I have no stinkers. I have a couple okay songs, and okay. I think the album as a whole is absolutely fantastic. I think parts of it can get a little monotonous listening to it over and over and over. I get why this may be lower on some people's rankings. I just I don't know, like, just, it's not just this album. It's when it came out, it's where it came out, it's how it came out. I think everything about this album is just, it's so unique. It's so like ballsy. It's just so fucking like, here we are, listen to me, I am woman, hear me roar type of thing. It's just so great. I fucking love it. So I don't know where to start. But I don't know. What do you want me to do? I don't know what to do.
So I have one song that is on the verge of a stinker.
Oh damn! Which one?
Like, it's really close to being a stinker, and that's Babylon.
Wow!
Wow!
That's my 3B.
Is it really?
Yeah, that's a slow jam. You love the fucking ballads. What's going on,
dude? That hook, that chorus, I can't stand.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God! It's that hook that kills it for me. And then whoever, I forgot who sings the hook, but he does like a last verse or like an outro to it, and it just, dude, this song is not, it's not good. It's almost a stinker because of that. But outside of that, the verses are great. Like the sampling, like the little bit of sampling and the beats and everything, it's great. But dude, that hook is just horrendous. It's so stereotypical, boring 90s R&B.
Okay.
I can't stand it.
Okay.
I cannot stand it.
Babylon is my 3B.
But why? I'm curious. Like, what makes this stand out for you?
So this is a slower jam, like I said, but it has Dre and Big Boy rapping faster, and Dre's verse, and I think he, and again I will say, I think he's very one dimensional. I think he out the gate he has a very unique rapping style, but then it never gets better than that. It's always just that. Whereas Big Boy out the gate is like very, you think like, oh, on the superficial level he's just, oh, that's just another player. That's just another rapper talking about bitches and hoes. And he does a lot. But then he's so fucking nuanced. So Dre in this one is fantastic because he has a complete disregard for the beat, and he's just going off on his own, and he's making his own beat, and it just so happens to match up just enough and end on the same beat, and it's damn good. And this is very reminiscent of like what Snoop Dogg does, but the only difference is Snoop Dogg doesn't always end on the beat. He just ends when he feels like fucking shutting the fuck up and stop talking.
Yeah.
But this is my favorite Andre 3000 verse on the entire record.
Okay.
And I just love it. I think it's fantastic. I think like lyrically it's great. I think delivery wise it's fantastic. Yeah, no, lyrically he spends, Dre's talking a lot about how he spends a lot of time talking about drugs and how he's above it. And then it correlates to like drug use, to the hip hop scene in general. And then he brings up guns. And then he brings up how likely it is that the government put the guns there the same way that they put the cocaine there, or the crack there, I should say, not cocaine. Cocaine's for white people, crack is for black people, is the big debate, the big conspiracy theory. And there's a lot of that in this record. And so that's kind of what he's going off. And then he talks about how silly it is for his fellow rappers to be showing off their guns while the manufacturers of said guns are laughing all the way to the bank and also possessing weapons that will just wipe out the entire city.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's true. Dude, come on. We're talking East Coast versus West Coast hip hop here. And these guys coming out making fun of everybody for showing off their guns, saying, like, don't you guys realize that we're better than this? Let's be better than this. And nobody listens to Outkast. Nobody listens to Outkast.
True. And lyrically on this one, I also kind of feel, I mean, what I agree with what you said, but it's also just a criticism in general of modern society of this time, and kind of one of the themes of this record is him criticizing, especially the objectification of women, and how we should be treating women more as like almost like a higher being, like a queen, or like you worship your woman, not, you don't objectify your woman. Like that's not something he's into and he believes in. It's the complete opposite of that, but he feels like that's where society is going. And there are a few songs like that on this, and this is one of them, and along with what you were saying as well.
It's super interesting because I read another article this week where somebody was talking about why aren't more black people in like the top songwriters of all time. Like, the people talk about Bob Dylan as being one of the greatest songwriters of all time, but you don't like him and you don't think he's overrated. And I see where that criticism comes from, because he does write the same shit like over and over and over. But like, why is there never like a lyricist who is a black person in like a top of all time? It's just, we've gotten this perpetual thing over and over and over where Bob Dylan is the greatest songwriter of all time, which I think he's in like the top 3, to be fair. But there's so many other people that I think as a rapper in hip hop that could be inserted into a top 5 songwriters of all time for sure. And I think the way Dre and Big Boy mesh with each other, as far as like rap duos who both rap, not like Eric B and Rakim. Eric B never rapped; it was always Rakim. So as far as like rap duos, I think Outkast is the best rap duo of all time, hands down. I think a close second, and it's only because they're getting better and better and better, is Run the Jewels. But I don't think LP is on the same level as either Dre or Big Boy, whereas Killer Mike is on another level. But whatever. It's bizarre that there's not a lot of rappers in like a top songwriters of all time. And then another thing the article said was, how come when a song trashes women and objectifies them and berates them and then looks down on them, it's so far beyond like our scope, and we think it's disgusting. But then when we put women on like a pedestal, it's like, well, you know, women are great and all, but they're not on a pedestal. Like, why can't we go the other route? Why is it not okay to go one way and also not okay to go the other way type of thing? I don't know. It was
True.
It was a little more articulate than it is now with my 7 beers deep that I got going on. But it was a good article. Like, why I don't know, why do we love Tupac so much? And he said he was innocent for all the sexual assault charges or whatever. But why is it okay for us to do this? But then when Dre talks about how we should be putting women on a pedestal, we think that's like, come on, guy, that's a little much, right? You know, we almost like think he's joking.
I think it's because at the time, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, that's what like sex sells. And look at all the big videos of the time, you know, that's what sold. And I mean, obviously Outkast did do that, but in some of the early videos, or a lot of their videos, especially when it comes to Andre 3000, like you could tell in the videos, like he acts like he doesn't like what he's seeing, like with the strippers around him and all that, like trying to make a point, like, I don't agree with this, but this is what it has to be for us to be famous or for us to have any sort of credibility within, you know, pop music. Because what video was it? I think it was off this record where they're in a strip club. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was that not
it wasn't
ATLiens?
ATLiens. No, it wasn't ATLiens. It was, damn it, I can't remember right now. But there was a video off of this record, and it was that thing where like Andre and Big Boy were sitting right next to each other at a strip club, and there's everybody dancing around him, but Andre's like visibly like uncomfortable, but it obviously seems very put on. But he was trying to make a point, and yeah, I don't know.
It's that kind of coincides with Idlewild, the movie, and Idlewild, the movie is kind of like a more esoteric jab at the rap world and objectifying women. And the movie opens up with they're at like a cabaret club or something, and there's a lot of topless women going around or dancing or whatever you call topless women doing at a cabaret. I've never been. I don't know what the fuck a cabaret is, but it's.
I think it's like a very fancy strip club.
But isn't like for like the 1800s or something?
It's pretty much
around.
It's a fully clothed strip club that is actually more of a performance.
Did you do like Wikipedia that, or is that just like
no?
off the
I'm
top
just
of your
like
head?
totally. I'm off the top of my head. Yeah,
that was good. That was solid.
That's what I'm thinking.
I've always thought a cabaret was for like cowboys.
Well, I think a cabaret,
like a strip club before strip clubs were a strip club.
That's what. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, because the women never get naked, but they get but they're scantily clad.
They show a little ankle, and everybody goes crazy.
Yeah. Maybe a little more than an ankle.
A knee?
Some leg
they
there.
Show knees?
I think a little bit above the knee. They might
Bunch of hussies over there in the cabarets.
Fucking hussies.
Better not show me a thigh. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what.
That word, man, hussy. That is just one word that is just so funny to me.
Because it's so stupid. Like
it's so dumb.
You cannot take it seriously.
I used that word so much growing up, just like teasing friends and stuff, and it's so stupid because it's not even really offensive. It's just silly.
Well, it's
straight up silly.
It's in The Music Man, the musical. A girl that a kiss in the very first date is usually a hussy.
Hussy, yeah. You love singing that.
I love singing that. I love The Music Man.
Of course you do. You love music.
Come on. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
We're talking about Babylon.
We're talking about Babylon. Babylon.
Should we play a little bit of Babylon?
That's the lost city of Babylon, right? Or the fictional city of Babylon. Atlantis is the lost city.
Yeah, true.
How do you lose a city? But yeah, Babylon's fantastic. I love it. It's 3B.
3B. But man, that, like I said, that chorus is like one of the worst things. I guess the person's name is Andre Martin. Yeah, Andre Martin. Andrea Martin? I don't know, but it's just
could be. Yeah, you know. Andre.
I think it's so terrible. I think it's so. Ugh, I can't stand it.
Damn. Okay. All right.
It's so bad. Oy. But we could play it and kind of understand that.
We don't have to play it. That's fine. I mean, and this is like the only time on the record that Big Boy gets like deep and serious.
Yeah, that's true. He always takes like a more like pimpish kind of road. Like he never gets esoteric like Andre does.
But
Ever.
it's funny because, I mean, it's not funny. It's interesting because Big Boy fully embraces the fact that he is a product of his environment, but he is still kind of rising above it. Whereas Andre embraces like he is a product of pushing back from the environment he grew up in. You know what I mean? Like they both grew up in the same area, whereas Big Boy embraced the life and grew from it and became better than it. Dre constantly pushed away from the life, but still grew up in it and got better from it. And so it's like that's what makes these guys so good is they come from the same place and they're two completely different perspectives on the same upbringing, and it comes out as just ATLiens. It's just a fucking masterpiece of hip hop.
Well, masterpiece.
Oh my God, dude, this is a masterpiece of hip hop. Absolutely.
This is a really great record, but I wouldn't go far as to say it's a masterpiece.
This is
it's really great. But
this is top 20 hip hop albums all time.
No, it's not.
I will say that.
It's not.
I will.
It's not.
Actually, I did say that.
Well, I know you can say it, but it's not.
Actually, I'm saying
That's
that.
fine. No, I mean you could say as many things as you want, but it's not.
I said that.
All right, should we play a little bit of Babylon or what?
No, we have to play Babylon. That's all right. We talked about it a lot. We have other bees to get to, and we have other stuff to talk about. We got
haven't even
babies to kiss, handshakes to do.
We haven't even talked about the title track, which we already played.
Play that fucking track.
Okay, so let's get into ATLiens, the title track.
Let's get into it.
We already played it, obviously. What do you got on this one? What do you got on this one?
This is my 2B. Is this a B for you? It should be a B for you.
Well.
God.
It's my 2B.
Good Lord.
It is my 2B.
Jesus Christ.
You're about to get real fussy right there.
Dude, because it's just like, come on, change the record.
I would love to change the record on this one, yeah. Just kidding.
There's only like three. I think there's only 3 songs that were written and produced solely by Outkast, by Big Boy and Dre, and this is the first of the 3 songs that were written and produced solely by them. And this is a very, very R&B influenced funk song disguised as a rap song. Bass is great, and they use a lot of live instrumentation. A lot of people are playing music on this record, as well as using samples. So there's not a ton of samples. There's maybe like 10% samples, and the rest is just actual people playing music. And this one, I like the snare sound. I think the snare sound is cool. It has a nice crack to it, and then it's got like this little roll at the end of the beat, and it's a nice little subtle touch. But the chorus, come on,
dude,
the chorus,
it's beyond catchy.
Like we're talking about a hip hop group that is now throwing out like catchy pop choruses disguised as hip hop choruses. Come on,
it's and they're so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah, it sounds like something the fucking Ying Yang Twins would do or something. It's so stupid. Ayer, throw your hands in the air.
And we even like you just don't care, like not even just the air, but even just the lyrics and the hook are so stupid.
I love it.
When
this
you
song
know,
is
yeah,
fantastic. It's. I don't know. What do you want? What do you got? What do you need? What do you?
I was gonna ask you about because you know more about Southern hip hop than I do. Wait, what the fuck was I gonna ask? Holy shit! Oh my god, what was I gonna ask?
So like Outkast, so as far as Southern hip hop goes, Outkast are not the originators of Southern hip hop. We had Ghetto Boys that were coming out, like gangster rap coming out of like Houston. We had UGK that had already been around.
How much earlier was that?
Ghetto Boys were like late 80s. Like Ghetto Boys were, but they were like heavily gangster rap. And that's like Bushwhack Bill, like the little person, the little midget guy.
That's right. Yeah.
Remember that horrible cover, shot in the face, and they put it as their cover art. A horrible thing to do. But yeah, like Southern hip hop had been around already since like the late 80s. And so Outkast are not the originators of it at all. But what Outkast did was allow not just Southern hip hop, but hip hop in general to be heard outside of East Coast and West Coast and gangster rap. Like you didn't have to be gangster rap to make it. And it's interesting how hip hop kind of transformed to just being extended breakbeats from old 70s soul records to gangster rap in like the early to mid 90s. And then I don't know, had it not been for like Tupac dying and Outkast, I don't know how long gangster rap would have been around. I really don't, because those are like the two main catalysts, I think. And what the fuck do I know? I'm not no hip hop expert here, but I think the two biggest catalysts for transitioning out of like gangster rap was Tupac dying and Outkast.
Yeah, I would say so. But I mean, when you really think about genres of music, they don't last very long. Even look at hair metal. That didn't last very long. That
sucked.
Like 81 through. I mean, that was probably like the longest one, like 81 through 89.
And that was bred out of a genre that already existed, though. Like that was bred out of rock. Yeah. We're talking hip hop that didn't exist really until like the mid to late 80s. Like otherwise, it was just kind of like Grandmaster Flash and his boys and DJ Kool Herc doing some spinning stuff. But like really, hip hop got a hold of itself in like the mid 80s. So this is a very new genre that's barely 10 years old, still wet behind the fucking ears.
So what I was going to ask that I forgot a couple minutes ago was that with Southern hip hop, it kind of seems like with Outkast they purposely did not try to use samples. Like they tried their hardest not to use samples. Was that like a Southern hip hop thing where they wanted to do something a little bit more like let's use live instruments, or should we just sample? Like I don't know, because I know very little about this genre. Was that something real? That was real?
It's not, because you had UGK, and UGK was a little bit before Outkast. UGK, I think their first album came out maybe like 91, maybe 92. But they had already been around, prior to that. And their first album was like had a bunch of samples on it. And it included like I don't know, some big names like the Ghetto Boys, some other people from the South area. Mm-hmm. So that was a conscious decision that Outkast did, was to try and not use samples and use like live instrumentation. I don't know if that was just bred out of I don't want to pay for samples, or if that was just maybe they wanted to be different, because I think these kids did have a different mindset right from the get-go. I think Southern Playa is different from its contemporaries just based off its production, based off of its songwriting, the way it sounds. Everything about it is different than everything else that was coming out from the early to mid 90s. And I think that's what Outkast was doing, was making a name for themselves by being an outcast. But I think that was just who they were, especially like Dre more so than Big Boy. But I even think like Big Boy felt like an outcast because he did grow up with like the homies, but he didn't end up like most of the homies that he raps about. He like elevated, he got better. He had a kid before this album came out, which like greatly changed his perspective on life. And he fully embraced like the dad life. And even like Dre modeled his own fathering after Big Boy. And he was like, holy shit, like I cannot believe that. Like when we started recording, Big Boy said, my family is first and then Outkast comes second. Yeah. And that was just something that he carried on throughout Outkast. And that's like, Outkast is just one of the most unique hip hop groups that have ever been. And then the fact that they're so groundbreaking, almost every single album has been damn near groundbreaking. It's unreal. And I cannot believe that Outkast doesn't get, even still, like you talk about Stankonia and Speaker Box and stuff, those won a lot of awards. They won a lot of Grammys. Dre's been in a lot of movies, but really Outkast doesn't get a lot of recognition.
They don't. Outside of like the two pop song or the few pop songs. Yeah, they don't. They're way more recognized in a pop sense than they are a hip hop sense. Which is really a shame.
It's terrible.
Honestly. Yeah, it really is terrible. Because they really have the talent, obviously. And they've influenced so many. It's pretty crazy. I never knew that they were as popular as they were prior to Stankonia. Like I honestly thought Stankonia was their second record, and that was their big breakthrough. But I had no idea that they had 3 albums prior to this, and those were platinum selling records, like multiple platinum selling records. That's insane.
Yeah. And like right off the bat, like Southern Playa was sold a lot of copies.
Yeah.
And they rap about it a lot in ATLiens, how they don't, like, they're not rich.
Mm-hmm.
They say, yeah, we sold a lot of copies and we made like good money, but like all that shit's going to like the label. Like the label took most of it. We're still just normal people. Mm-hmm. And however much that is true, I don't know. I tend to believe them more because they've been pretty honest from Southern Playa all the way, I think, until Stankonia. Speaker Box and Love Below is a fucking joke of a sellout. Idlewild is dumb. So I believe them for their first, like 4 or 5 albums.
Agreed.
And so I think, I don't know. I think that they know. I think right from the get-go, they knew that either this ship was going to sail off into the sunset and make them a ton of money, or they're going to fucking sink. And they took a gamble, and it worked, and it paid off. And it didn't pay off until Stankonia, though.
Stankonia was their biggest selling record, right? Or was it,
by far.
Was it Speaker Box? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Even though Speaker Box and Love Below had the bigger hits with Hey Ya, but in the end, Stankonia sold more.
Like the way I see Speaker Box is typical of the recording industry and the Grammys, where all of a sudden an album blows up and the Grammys slept on it. So whatever artist that was, their next album is going to be so great because they slept on the one prior to it that blew up, and they're already too late to recognize that one, so they have to recognize the second one. Because Speaker Box and Love Below won a ton of fucking awards. I think maybe even more than Stankonia did. And I think that's the reason why. And the Grammys do that shit all the fucking time, and it irritates me.
Yeah. And there were really only 2 or 3 big hits off of that double album. Hey Ya obviously was the biggest thing. But then there was Roses and then The Way You Move.
The Way You Move. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. That was it. But even The Way You Move had nothing on the other 2 because those were more pop oriented. So those were more radio friendly, which sucks because those, The Way You Move is way better than Roses. Like, way, way fucking better.
It's a good fucking song.
But then it's hard to compare the 2 because they're 2 drastically different style songs. But whatever.
No, man, I don't know. Like, as far as Southern hip hop goes, I think besides like UGK, Outkast is the quintessential Southern hip hop band, because the Ghetto Boys, even like Rick Rubin, like hooked up with the Ghetto Boys early on in like the late 80s or early 90s and produced some stuff for them. So like it was that gangster rap sound was getting clout.
Yeah, but that was prior to gangster rap. Like Rick Rubin never touched upon gangster rap, so even
gangster rap was like late 80s. Ice-T was late 80s, and LL Cool J was late 80s.
Def Jam never really touched on gangster rap. That was more of a Death Row and Bad Boy. That was the rivalry. It was Death Row and Bad Boy. That was it. But it never really went to Def Jam or anything like that. Obviously, never really touched the South.
Yeah,
as far as I know, I'm like I said, I'm not as well versed as you are, and most people are, but that's my view on it. I don't know. It could be.
It is true that Def Jam was more so not into the gangster rap scene. They were more commercialized in the hip hop realm, and obviously the biggest thing is like the Beastie Boys, their first album, License to Ill. That's what DMC everybody too. Probably thinks of what hip hop was going to. Yeah, and Run DMC. So, but like, dude, there's a lot of like really good gangster rap that was coming out of like the late 80s, and like Ice-T is one of them, and
but Ice-T was on it. But Ice-T was more because of the body count stuff, not because of his solo stuff, but more
no Ice-T, his first one was like 1986, dude. That first album came out.
I know. He was popular prior to the body count stuff, but it wasn't until body count where you really saw, that next level of popularity and controversy. Because I would be hard. I think people don't know who the fuck Body Count is unless
they only know Ice-T. That was like because Body Count wasn't until like almost the mid 90s. Ice-T already had like 4 albums under his belt before Body Count came out.
I know, but what Ice-T is best known for musically is the stuff he did with Body Count.
No way, dude! His first album are you kidding me? That's like his best. That's his best album. Ice-T
Okay.
like Ice-T essentially started gangster rap, and Ice-T also helped start fucking like what we know as commercialized crossover
He
thrash
did.
and hip hop.
He did, but I'm what I'm more referring to is what he is best known for, and
No,
that is
Body
Cop
Count
Killer.
is-
And that is Cop Killer with Body Count.
No, come on, that's
Yes,
silly
it is.
boy talk. No way.
No, I don't silly boy talk. We all know this. I don't silly boy
That's
talk.
crazy.
It's never been a thing. But anyway, dude, we've kind of really gone off.
There's a lot of
But-
good stuff out. There's a lot of good hip hop out there, and this
There
is
is.
all pertinent information. This is all vital information for your everyday life.
And I was thinking about this week. I mean, I'm going further away now, but I was thinking this week in my mind, obviously.
In your mind, what do you think? That's good.
Yeah, how different hip hop in Florida and Miami was compared to hip hop everywhere else.
Like when?
Well, like when you think about Two Live Crew and all these, what's the artist we got? The record we got?
Oh,
Not
Gigolo
Dr.
Tony?
Gigolo Tony and shit like that.
Yeah.
That shit all came out of Miami, and that kind of hip hop is so different from the East Coast, West Coast, Southern hip hop. It's so in another like level, like I don't need like a whole nother genre in itself. Like it's crazy how hip hop is so different regionally. I never really understood that until this week after listening to Outkast and reading a little bit more about Southern hip hop, how regional certain styles are. And Miami to me is just the craziest of them all
Dude,
because it's way more EDM based.
that was the drum and bass of like the late 80s. Two Live Crew is the best example of that. Yeah, the late 80s gave birth to this, what I think is just nothing but pure fun hip hop. And it only existed for the sole purpose to piss off like white people, to piss off Tipper Gore, to piss off politicians. It only exists to piss people off.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking fun. And hip hop,
It is.
because it's so new, because we don't have, like hip hop isn't derived from anything except for literally just sampling other music. And so it's only been around for a handful of decades. It is really interesting to see like people in Minneapolis, right? Like the Rhyme Sayers, like Atmosphere, like Murs, like these people that are rapping out of like Minneapolis, Minnesota. Like how the fuck did hip hop permeate upwards to I don't know,
Upper Midwest, I guess.
40 below temperatures to now
Cold like
people
Minnesota, yeah.
to where people are like rapping, and some of the best rappers like I've ever heard are coming from like the Rhyme Sayers. I just bought an album the other day from somebody I never even heard of, but he was from the Rhyme Sayers collective, and
Oh yeah,
I
that's
gotta
right.
buy it. And like Slug, like one of the greatest rappers of all time. How did hip hop go from like Two Live Crew in the late 80s up into Slug to like the mid 90s to late 90s? Like that type of, I don't know, that type of jumping is really, really cool because hip hop is so new and it's been progressing so fast. Whereas rock music, if we're tracing it back to like straight blues and then slowly developing over the course of 100 years, we can see where like blues has progressed, where it's taken us, where rock has taken us. And then we talk about like decades of like the 90s had so many different genres. You brought up like hair metal, for instance, and like the 80s had so many different genres that it was flirting with. But like hip hop's still very, very new.
It
and
is,
even our most hated, and I have a little bit more patience with than you do, but the SoundCloud era and on with rap,
I don't get it.
even that is still just another transition into something else. And I'm fucking excited to hear what hip hop is going to be like in the next 5-10 years.
I mean, I'm excited to see the evolution of music because I think that is very exciting. I love it. But where it's at right now, I just I don't get, man. I tried so hard because I like a lot of different shit, but I do not get this at all.
I feel like
I can't be expected to like everything, but man, this is one thing I just fuck that.
I feel like where hip hop has always been like a kid walking into a candy store and there's just so many varieties of just everything's good. But now I feel like it's more of like an antique collector going to just a junkyard where there's just so much shit and you got to just sift through it to find that one piece of gold.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's where we're at now.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah,
There is gold there, but like you gotta put in some work.
I've tried. But anyway, let's get back to this record.
Anyway,
Let's
back to
get back to
Outkast,
ATLiens.
back to ATLiens.
So,
It's your to be, it's my to be, or not to be.
and we already played it. I mean, what do we have lyrically on this one?
I thought this was cool because this is about Big Boy and Three Stacks are just kind of being themselves despite knowing it's different, and it's kind of like getting them put on the back burner from the hip hop community. Big Boy makes fun of the haters who complain about his lyrics being typical, but then he kind of defends himself, saying he isn't like everyone else who's buying big houses in cities that he's not even from, or spending all their record label money as soon as they get it. So like Big Boy on the surface, and this is why Big Boy's so friggin' good, is because on the surface he is kind of like a bitches and hoes type of rapper.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really listen to what he's saying and where he's going with it, he makes fun of like the bitches and hoes type of rappers because he's saying that, hey, but I don't have the bitches and hoes type of money. I'm not buying houses in fucking cities I don't even live in. I wasn't grown up in. I'm buying places. I'm spending money like Killer Mike. Killer Mike's another good example. I'm spending money in my hometown. I'm spending money on families that have supported me through my musical career. I'm spending money in my town that will benefit most from my money. And above all else, like I don't know, he doesn't have all this money that everyone else talks about. And I don't know. I think it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't was going with that, but I like it.
I think you're absolutely right on this one. I will say though, the lyrics, this is like one of the toughest weeks I've had on the lyrics. I don't know. I could not figure out what they're talking about. And there's just so much. There's so many words.
Yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
I had a really difficult time on the lyrics this week.
I think it's because I think they were deep. I think their lyrics are there's more to it than meets the eye. But just on a one watch, on a one look through, on a one glance, you're good. You don't need to like dig deeper and figure out what the existential meaning is. I think they are deeper than their contemporaries. They're other people in the rap game in the mid 90s, but they're not that deep.
I feel like they're just a little bit too ambiguous at times though. And it was a little frustrating and it kind of irritated me when I was reading through the lyrics. Because I feel like there were some times where I feel like they weren't on the same, Big Boy and Andre weren't on the same level. Like they weren't talking about the same thing. Maybe they were, I don't know. I probably missed something, who knows. But
no, that's what's so great about them, and that's what's so great about like so many of the best of really good duos are people that are not the same. People that are very like not like-minded. Like I don't want to hear two Eminems on the same album. I don't want to hear like Dre and Snoop are fine, but like they're the same fucking person essentially, just different delivery styles.
True.
It's just I don't want to hear two of the same people. I want to hear two people that are friends, that are from the same area, but have different perspectives on life. I want just two completely different things, and that's what Dre and Big Boy are. And like for like what you were saying on ATLiens, like Andre comes in on his verse, and he's being like outright sexual right from the start, and that's a Big Boy thing. Yeah, that is a textbook Big Boy trait. He's talking about how great his lyricism is and how unique he is, and like it almost becomes very stereotypical and run-of-the-mill stuff. But then he changes gears like instantly, gets a little bit deeper about how he's going to raise his kid and how his kid's going to turn out. But that's correlating along the lines of how Big Boy is already raising his kid. So Andre's already taking stuff from real life, how he sees his peer, Big Boy. They're like the same age. And he sees how Big Boy is now raising his kid, how Big Boy has taken a firm stance on parenting first, Outkast second. And now Andre is kind of like, I don't know, digging deep inside of himself and saying, what if I had a kid? Would I be the same? Would I do the same thing that he is doing? This person I look up to, but he's also my friend. And he gets serious. He's talking about how serious he takes his lyrical messages received. And during this time, Dre also abstained from drugs, alcohol, sex. He just cut it all out. Like
that's what I was gonna. I wanted to mention that as well. That's
in a very
big
weird,
lifestyle
like
change.
Buddhist fucking thing where he's just cutting out all kind of attachments in life and just like, what can I do? How will this make me better?
Mm-hmm.
And he did it for like a long fucking time, for like decades. Especially
Yeah,
like
he
the veganism and the vegetarianism and the alcohol is like, my God, and the drugs.
Yeah, especially, you know, in this kind of career, you know, to kind of abstain from all of that is pretty wild. It's very unheard of.
But then also be okay, because at some point when they got really big, they had two different tour buses when they were touring. It was
Yeah.
Big Boy's and Outkast or Andre's, because Big Boy smokes and he doesn't, and they still had they could still get along.
Yeah, which is great.
Like Big Boy probably cut back on it, and then Andre probably accepted more of it. So there was a middle ground that they both respected each other enough where they could get along being opposites.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Outkast so unique, is these guys are not the same person. They're fucking totally different.
But that's all. Yeah, that's what makes them great. Honestly, it's like the Tom and Mark thing. You get these two very different guys, you know, vocally sounding, and the way they write their lyrics are very different. But when you throw them together, they just make this great pair. That's kind of how I view this as well. Because you would never expect Andre and Big Boy to be friends. Like they don't look like they'd be friends. They don't act like they'd be friends. They don't write music the same way, it seems. But for whatever reason, when they get together on collaboratively with these records before Speakerbox and Love Below, it works so well. Yeah, those were our two Bs.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you got for your 1B? We haven't got to your 1B.
Do you want to do my 1B or do you want to do your 1B?
Let's do your 1B.
We can do my 1B. You want to do yours? Okay.
This is your pod. This is your pod,
All right.
honestly.
My 1B is Over the Woods
Really?
featuring Witch Doctor. It's my favorite.
Okay.
Hands down.
That's my 5B. But
Easy peasy. This is one of those songs that I kind of alluded to earlier. This is a 90s sounding song with like longevity to it. Everything about this song is 90s sounding. The soundscapes are a little bit more nuanced, and it kind of adds to like the spacey vibe. But overall, this song is a 90s song. This is a 90s fucking hip hop song, and it totally sounds like it. But unlike when you go back and listen to, which I think is a fantastic record, for the record, Illmatic by Nas, there's a lot of things in that record. What did you fucking say to me?
I said now I really want to listen to that record.
What the fuck did you just say to me?
Oh, you know what I just fucking said to you?
Yeah, like even though I think that is a fantastic record, there is some things on there that are dated. And Over the Woods is like purposefully dated. And I like the way it has aged. Listening to this in 2021, I think it's aged perfectly. I love the chorus. I think it's the most aggressive on the album. I love how Dre and Big Boy are usually very calm and collected, but now they're throwing out, they're allowing like chorus to be in this that is like aggressive and kind of kind of confrontational in a sense. It sounds confrontational.
Agreed. This song is more gangster rap than a lot of the stuff that they do. There's a couple like gangster rap songs on this record, and this is definitely one of them. The hook itself isn't super poppy or super catchy, but there's enough there to keep you interested in it. But it's pretty hard hitting. It's a pretty hard hitting song, and I really like it. This is my 5B. So I think this is a really good song. I really did enjoy this one.
And this is one that I think that it ends with just like straight like dub sounding with a DJ behind it, and this is how it transitions out into Babylon.
Yeah. I think this
So
is a really solid song, and like I said, they have a couple harder hip hop songs, and I think they do it really well. I really think they do that genre well. And the thing I don't want to say issue I have with this record is that like you could tell they want to go the pop route, but they haven't quite found their stride in that, and you don't start to hear that until Aquemini, however the fuck you pronounce that.
Every time you say it, you have no idea how you're saying it.
It makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. I hate it. But I don't know. This record is so weird to me because they're truly on this weird transition, and they really don't know where the fuck they're going. They're all over the place on this record. And this is a great example of that. This being like pretty much a straight up gangster rap song. So
this album, like if you take this album as a precursor to Aquemini, or as almost like a B-side but came out before Aquemini, then it gives a little bit more credence because this is a more gritty Aquemini, and it's
keep saying that word. Yeah.
If I slow down when I say it, maybe you'll stop Aquemini.
I'll never
stop
get it right.
Thinking about it and just do it. I don't know. It's cool. It's good stuff.
Okay. Should I play a little bit of it and then we can get into the lyrics or what?
Whatever you want to do. I'll talk about everything all fucking night. Like, we're all going all night.
Here's Over the Woods from Outkast. There you go. Over the Woods. Dude, I'm not good with these
misspellings of words.
Yeah, because I don't want to sound like I'm an asshole, and you know how it is.
I mean, it's we didn't grow up in this type of area, and like their spelling of Over the Woods is, I don't know. I assume indicative of how they grew up.
Yeah, true.
Which adds to like the I don't know, the overall aesthetic to the album.
You're right. So I shouldn't feel too bad about mispronouncing all of this stuff.
No,
Aquemini, all that.
We're already probably doing more than most people would ever even consider doing with Outkast. So,
okay, so with this song, I can't believe this is your 1B.
Oh, dude,
that's crazy.
So good.
I can't believe it's your 1B, but it is really good. I think this is a really good one. Lyrically, though, much like most of the songs on this record, I had a hard time with it. But I feel like this is them talking about how hard they work for what they have, and they're just the best in the game, and there's nobody better than them. So it's kind of like we're better than everybody else, but we really worked for it, and we're doing our best. That's kind of what I get with this.
Okay.
I'm probably totally wrong, because even reading like some explanations of what these songs are about, after reading the explanation, I still cannot make that correlation with what I'm reading. So this is a really hard week for me.
I don't think they ever on this album ever profess outright to be like the greatest. I think they do think that they are better than a lot of people out there, but I think that's almost in like a defense mechanism because they were already disrespected and nobody took them seriously. Mm. I think that was a more immature way to say, like, listen to me. And as a child, as a growing adult, if you want someone to listen to you, you tend to say how bad other people are rather than how good you are. And so I don't think they ever outright say that they are the best ever, but they definitely do say that they're better than other rappers. But I think this one is just I don't know, just about what they want in life. In particular, Dre talks about how he just wants to be happy ultimately. Simple things like a nice house, a loving family, and a dog. And then Big Boy, he's just trying to get some of that type of playa vibe the whole time. That's all he's talking about. They just want to be happy. And I think that's a very like childish thing to do, is like, yeah, I want to be a big time rapper just so I can be happy.
But I think that kind of goes along with what I was saying too. I mean, yeah, they just want to be happy, but they have to work hard to reach that level of happiness.
They definitely talk a lot about on this record how hard they do work and how much money they don't have because their label took it. And I didn't read a lot about. I tried to find out why they talked about that so much, but I didn't find a lot of information on why they felt they were shysted by their label, because they were like friends with their label.
And Outkast, to me, I tried to read as much as I could, but there was not a lot written about them.
Not in their early days, no.
Yeah, especially the early days. But even the more popular stuff on Stankonia and after, there's not a ton written about them. It's more like they're really great, and these are the records that are great, and that's pretty much it. I'm sure obviously there was a lot of like roadblocks and things like that along in their career, obviously, but you don't hear a lot about it. There's not like I never really read any crazy stories about them, on tour or in their personal lives or recording a record. They're kind of like a very vanilla hip hop group.
Oh,
very vanilla.
Well,
Right?
no, because
I could be completely wrong.
I think you're looking at it the wrong way. I think you're right, but you're looking at it a different way. I think Outkast still to this day, and we both agree that they just don't get the recognition they deserve. I think because Tupac and Biggie, because East Coast versus West Coast has been such a hot point of contention. I need some intervention. I've crushed my fingers. I think because East Coast and West Coast has been such a hot point of contention for so long that you can Google fucking Pac, Biggie, and you'll land on 45 different books written about them, 100 docs, whatever you need, because now it's been this like snowball effect where it's spiraling out of control to where anybody that wants to write anything about hip hop is inevitably going to write about something from East Coast or West Coast, where Southern rap still to this day still doesn't get recognition. Even like Lil Wayne, who I love Lil Wayne. Love Lil Wayne.
Okay.
I think he's one of the greatest rappers of all time. I think Lil Wayne is top 10. But I think Outkast is still stuck in this purgatory if they're not getting the respect they deserve. And that's because no one's writing articles about them. If you Googled articles about Outkast and every article you read was about how vanilla and how boring they were, then yeah, we'd have some arguments here. We'd be on the same page at least of this band being boring. But the problem is there are no articles written about them. There are no articles written about how boring they are or how exciting they were. There's just nothing. And that's because nobody wants to cover Southern hip hop. It's always East Coast and West Coast.
It's crazy.
And it fucking irritates me because my God, Outkast is so much better than like the majority of shit that came out from the East Coast and West Coast.
Yeah, but to an extent, yeah.
Straight up.
But it never reaches to me, it never reaches the level of the best of the best.
Outkast is better than, I mean, this could be my complete bias being from, little wannabe gangster boy from the West Coast, but Outkast is better than anything, including Jay-Z's best, anything that the East Coast has ever done. Minus 36 Chambers. Which I think 36 Chambers is the greatest hip hop record of all time. But
really
outside of that,
wow.
yeah, it's easy. That's been proven. Besides that, I think Outkast is better than anything that has ever come out of the East Coast. West Coast, I think it's better than everything except for maybe 3 or 4 records.
I would say single wise, like Outkast have some better singles, but as an overall hip hop record, I wouldn't agree with that. I feel like The Chronic is a better record.
Yes.
Than anything Outkast has done.
I agree.
I would say
NWA, their
straight
their
out
album, better than anything. Yes.
But
That's
you just
it.
said that. But you just said that Outkast is better than anything that was put out from either coast.
No, that's not what I said. Why you never listen to me? I don't
No, I was listening.
You're not listening to me. When you go back and edit this pod, I say this a lot. When you go back and edit this pod, you realize, oh shit, that is not what he said. I'll wait. I'm actually going to write a note on this one.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. I don't write notes very often, but I'm for sure going to write a note on this one because I want to hear your apology. Apology for East Coast.
What did you say though?
Comment. What I said was Outkast is better than everything that has come out of the East Coast rap, including Jay-Z's best, which Jay-Z is also.
No, you said East Coast and West Coast.
I'm not even done yet.
Okay.
I think Jay-Z is top 10 rappers of all time. I think Outkast is better than, as a whole, the best Outkast record, which is ATLiens, is better than whatever you think is the best Jay-Z record. Even though I think Jay-Z is a better lyricist than Dre and Big Boy. But they're better than everything the East Coast has done, minus 36 Chambers, which I said I think is the greatest hip-hop album of all time.
No, I remember you saying that.
Now go to the West Coast. I think Outkast is better than anything the West Coast has done, minus like 3 or 4 records.
Okay. I could be wrong, but I think you worded it differently to make it sound like that ATLiens and Outkast were better than anything from either coast.
No, that's silly.
From this era.
I would never say that.
Well, I think you did.
I did not say that. I'll wait for your apology. Just
all
saying.
right. So, oh shit, we haven't even gotten into my 1B yet.
What is your 1B?
Mainstream.
Wow.
Yeah. This is another kind of gangster rap thing. I really like this. I mean, Goody Mob, who are they? I'm not really sure who they are, but it's I guess these two guys, Timo and Cujo. But the aggression on this, I just love how aggressive it is, and it really kind of takes you out of the conscious hip hop of the record, which is fine and all on this record, but I do like the mix of it all, because like I said, like we were talking about, there's like 3 or 4 songs on this that are more gangster rap, and this is one of them, and I thought this one was fucking fantastic. Really, really good. And then not only that, but you had you had some cool like soundscapes and things going on like that. Like there's this sound on here. There's like an alien beam kind of synth sound that you hear yeah, it's like you hear in these old like B movies, but it kind of just, it's there in the background and it just kind of floats around while they're just kind of rapping over it. I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
So I have so many things to say. First of all, my 1B was also your 5B, but your 1B is my 5B.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of cute, right? That was cute.
Yeah, that's weird.
Mainstream featuring Timo and Cujo, 5B. You mentioned Goody Mob. Goody Mob, that's CeeLo Green. CeeLo Green's from Goody Mob.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Like, oh, they're crazy.
Yeah,
and then
we all
the
know.
Fuck You song. Yeah, CeeLo Green from Goody Mob.
Gnarls Barkley,
And I really hate the name Gnarls Barkley, but I also really like the name Gnarls Barkley.
It sounds so gross, but
it does sound terrible. But Mainstream, I like the same thing that you like, that drone sound in the back. It's like something I wrote from the Twilight Zone. And
yes,
it's cool.
Okay, yeah.
It's cool that they use that like deliberate sound on everyone's verse except for Dre and Big Boy. Mm-hmm. And it comes and goes a little bit on the Outkast verse, but it's during the entirety of Timo and Cujo. And I think that's cool because it's like a subtle nod to the fact that it's okay to be different, because to the Outkast style, Timo and Cujo are the aliens. Therefore, they use that alien sound. Mm-hmm. And they barely use it for Dre and Big Boy. So I think I don't know. I thought it was a cool production technique to make Outkast seem normal, but then invite other people to rap and make them seem like the weirdos.
Agreed.
A little childish, but still really, really fucking cool. I loved it.
I agree, and just this song is so good.
And yeah, I think you can hear both coasts of rapping in this. I think you can hear both styles. This is a very inspired track by East Coast and West Coast.
Well, because like with Outkast and on this record, I mean, I guess all their records, they have a more like laid back style of beats and more laid back style of delivery of their lyrics. But when you throw in a more like aggressive sound, it really shows that, and it's a really great mixture of styles. Like it goes so well together, that aggression and that laid back feeling to it, and it's awesome. I think this song is absolutely killer.
It's fantastic, and Goody Mob had released an album right after Southern Playa. So like Southern Playa came out, and then Goody Mob, their first album, came out, and then they started like networking a lot with Outkast, and so they were both kind of like hand in hand in making that iconic Southern sound. But Goody Mob was more of like a quartet and kind of stumbling upon themselves. I listened to their first album before because it's CeeLo Green. It's you gotta listen to CeeLo Green's first album, and I've listened to it before. And Big Boy and Andre guest star on Goody Mob's first album, but it's just there's too many what do you call it? Too many chefs in the kitchen type of thing.
Yeah, makes sense.
And there's not like an iconic individual sound. Whereas on Outkast featuring, and then CeeLo Green has done a lot of stuff with Outkast too on various songs. And
I noticed that.
And coming onto Outkast stuff, there's less cooks in the kitchen type of thing. So you get to hear the best of Goody Mob, because I think Cujo is my favorite member of Goody Mob. When Cujo has some verses by himself on this album, I think it's so goddamn good. So good.
Yeah, no, there really is. How far before this record was that first Goody Mob?
It was either right at the same time as Southern Playa or like right after. I can't remember exactly when it was, but it was like at the same
within
time.
Like 3 years.
Yeah, because they're both from Atlanta. Like they're both from Atlanta, Outkast and Goody Mob, and I don't know if they grew up together or whatever, but they're also part of like the Dungeon family, and the Dungeon family is obviously very big in the Outkast world. So they all hung out together at least in some aspect of the Atlanta area in the early '90s.
Okay, got it.
That was Organized Noise, Outkast, Goody Mob, whatever the fuck else are there. I don't know.
Honestly, all these rap groups and crews, they're all the same thing, you know?
I mean, they all came
they
from.
I know together.
It was horrible the way you said it, but I understand what you're saying.
Well, they just collaborated so much. I mean, that was like with any crew though. Like on the West Coast, East Coast, it doesn't matter where you are. Like if you're regional, every crew kind of got together and they all collaborated, and that's even to this day. You know,
you either collabed or you clashed. Like that was it.
Yeah.
But that's because how new hip hop still is, right? Like,
true, yeah.
It's just so fucking new that there's not that many players in the game. There's not that many cooks in the kitchen. Am I saying this right? Chefs in the kitchen or cooks in the kitchen?
That's the same thing.
I feel like you would want less.
Cooks would be better than chefs. I feel.
What am
like
I trying to say? I don't know what I'm fucking trying to say.
Too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, because there's too many people working on one thing, and that could really damage the integrity of a song or just everything about the song. Look at John Feldman. I mean, we talk about John Feldman every week. We're talking about him right now. Too many goddamn cooks in the kitchen. So I'm going to play a little bit of Mainstream right here. We'll touch upon the lyrics and then get into our 2Bs. So here is Mainstream from Outkast. There you go. Mainstream from Outkast.
From the Outcasts.
From the Outkast. The best song on the record right here. So what do you got lyrically on this one? Don't burp, please.
I know. We shouldn't be burping the pod.
I know.
We're
going to lose so many stars.
We get bad reviews. It seems like they're playing on the idea of people that don't think before they do. Either just going like through the motions of life or just putting out mediocre stuff for a short-term game. Like when 3 Stacks. I love that. I love it. Like Dre has such cool fucking nicknames. Oh, it's so awesome. You call him Dre.
So
you call him Andre 3000. You call him 3 Stacks. Love it. Like when he talks about how rappers do like the catch of the day rather than the blackened, talking about like cooking, too many cooks in the kitchen. And he says like the catch of the day is a very short-term gain, where like blackened is something that takes a little bit more effort, a little bit more time, but overall it's going to be better for you, for the community, for hip-hop in general.
Okay.
That was cool.
Yeah. I thought it was kind of, I mean, I feel like our interpretations of these songs are just so wildly different.
What you got?
I don't know. I mean, kind of what I was reading online about this song a little bit and reading the lyrics, I don't really agree with. So I don't know what to believe on this song. Like from what I was reading, what other people are saying, it's about, you know, them trying to kind of live where they're from. Like even though it's really bad, they're still trying to get through it all. And they're trying to be positive about life and trying to make like a proper living, but then they're being like brought into, you know, the more sinister side of society with like drug dealing and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of that push and pull of like, should we can make a lot of money doing, you know, illegal things, or we could work extra hard and do something, you know, the right way. So it's kind of that.
That's it. That's short-term versus long-term gain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Drug dealing inevitably will be a short-term gain because that's not real hard money. That's not how the Rockefellers fucking made their money. You need good longevity in your money making.
True. Yeah. I don't understand why this week was so difficult with the lyrics for me. This is the hardest week, by far the hardest week for me lyrically.
That's good.
I can't figure it out.
There was, I mean, to be fair, like there was a lot of words. Like they just mouth a lot of fucking words.
They just talk so
a
much.
lot. I know.
So much. And it's just so much of it is nonsense. I don't want to say nonsense, but so just
repetitive.
It's too much. Yeah, it's too much.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's fair. That's fair.
Almost to the point where it kind of, for me, it kind of dilutes
message.
The message, yeah, that they're trying to convey. Man. So I don't know what the fuck to believe most of the time.
Okay.
Every time I read something like, oh, this is what the song is about, and I read through the lyrics like 3, 4 times, and I'm like, okay, I don't see.
You're like,
really
where did you
that.
get that?
Yeah.
When the fuck did he say that?
I mean, I'm a very new lyric man, but I mean, sometimes it's too much. It's way too much. Oh God. So what do you got for your 2B?
That I thought I did my 2B already. It was ATLiens. Yeah, ATLiens.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's right. That was my 2B as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we did our 3Bs, right?
My 3B was Babylon.
That's right. So my 3B.
Stinker.
It was a very close stinker because of that fucking chorus. So my 3B is Decatur Psalm.
Oh,
am I saying that correctly?
Yeah,
Decatur
Psalm. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a little bit of a slower jam. I really like the subtle kind of weird samples that are used that's mixed with the funk guitar playing. But overall it's more like a gangster rap kind of thing with some gospel stuff at the end. Like it's kind of all over the place. Like I feel like this is like a really good combination of everything they were kind of doing on this record in one song. But also the song doesn't feature Andre 3000. So that's a big one. So
is that a good thing, a bad thing, or just interesting?
I mean, I thought it was going to be a bad thing, but it really doesn't take away from the song at all. There's somebody named Cool Breeze on it who kind of does the verses with Big Boy, and I'm not mad about it at all.
Especially
really
because you know that Andre can't carry an album the way Big Boy can.
Oh,
at all.
Absolutely.
And so when you don't have a track with Andre, it's not too bad. But this was still like in their formative years when they worked really, really, really well together. Mm-hmm. But there's other people on here like that Big Gip guy.
Yeah.
His verse is my favorite. I just love how he sounds. It reminds me of like Method Man or something. A little raspy, a little rough around the edges. I love it. Mm-hmm. There is some cool like wah funk guitar parts in here. I think it sounds fantastic. Overall,
but it's more subtle than anything. It's not up front in the mix. Everything just kind of lays back and just kind of does their thing in the background while they all kind of rap over it, which is great. That's how it should be.
This wasn't a B for me. This was a bottom song on the album.
Really? Okay.
But I like that Big Gips part. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. And the funk guitar, I thought that was fantastic too.
So I realized with this record, the one thing that I really kind of didn't like were the choruses and the hooks. I felt that was very easily the worst part of this record. Because they're not good. At this point in their career, they were not good at that at all. They were just bad. And so that's kind of, yeah. I really don't like it.
We haven't talked about that hook yet.
I know. I really don't like it.
Oh, it's so iconic, though.
It is No, it is very iconic, but it's not good. It's really not good. Even the K or the A or that is so stupid. It's not even good, but it is iconic in the whole hip hop scene and genre. But I think the reason why my biggest bangers are the biggest bangers is because they don't have those hooks. Because at this point they were not good at the hooks at all.
Yeah, you're right. They, like you said earlier, they're guys who were trying to write maybe even subconsciously just trying to write pop centric hooks, but just didn't quite refine the craft yet. And they really wouldn't until Stankonia. But
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like some
That
of
was
those,
a big jump though too.
some of the dude, like I don't know, the me and you part of Elevators
Me and
is
You.
pretty good. It's pretty fucking
It's
cool.
so bad, dude. Oh my god, it's so bad.
Just like the fact that they're singing their own hooks, right?
I know, which is it's cool, it's respectable, but that
Like
doesn't make it good.
It's like a dime a dozen where we hear like a decent hook from a hip hopper from the East Coast or West Coast, and they have a female artist come in and sing the hook. At least they're doing their own hooks.
True. No,
Half the time.
I think that's cool. It is cool, but if you know you can't do the hook, don't do the hook.
But they
Yeah,
can do it, and it's so catchy. The hook is supposed to be catchy, and it's supposed to hook
And
you.
Oh,
Me and you, your mama and your cousin too.
I guess yeah. It does hook you, but it hooks
so
you. I feel like it
good.
hooks you for the wrong reasons.
Dude, it
It's not
hooks you with
good.
like it hooks you with like a decomposed worm instead of like a slice of pizza. It's just like it's a shitty. I agree. It's a shitty way to hook you, but it does hook you.
Oh god, and that
Come
that
on up,
song is
slap
not a
Cadillac
banger for me.
doors. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's Elevator is
What
not
what
a-
is
not a banger
Elevators
for
to?
me.
That's my 9B.
That's not a B for me.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's not a B.
wow.
It's not definitely not a stinker, but
Wow, wow.
yeah, not a B, and that hook is terrible.
Okay. All right. I'm not talking about it.
But we could talk about it. That's fine. But it's your
Well, we
9B,
literally just talked about like the best part of this, not the best part of the song, but the most iconic part
the
of the
worst
song.
part of the song. Yeah, the worst. Part. But Decatur song, I honestly have no idea what the lyrics are about.
This is I will say that there are two songs on the album that I thought were kind of okay, and so then I didn't even bother because there's a lot of words, and this is one of them.
I read that people were saying this is like a psalm for their hometown or like a city like near their hometown. I don't really know, but even then, dude, I don't know what they're talking about. I really don't. I really wanted to try and understand and know what they were saying, but maybe it's a cultural thing. I don't know. I felt really stupid, honestly.
It's for sure like a cultural thing. I mean, the United States is so fucking big.
Yeah.
The distance from Los Angeles to Georgia, I mean, my God, dude, that's
Good
so.
4 hours,
There's
5
like
hours.
25 states in between us, and California is massive. Like California is such a huge state where we're from, and just dissecting California itself, just in the music world, from San Diego up until Mount Shasta. I can't. What's the most northern city you know of in California?
Most northern what?
City you know of in California?
Wouldn't it be?
Like the
Albany?
Shasta area is all that I know.
Oh, we're just
In
talking about California.
Yeah,
oh,
in
just
California.
Yeah, I would say Shasta. Yeah.
Yeah, so like the distance from Shasta to San Diego, that's like 10 hours.
No, that's more than 10 hours. That's like
No, because it took us
18 hours to get to Portland.
Well, it took us 8 hours to get to Frisco.
Frisco, yeah.
Oh, that's true, because we had to go down to San Diego to get 2 hours. 8, 9, 10. That's like 12 hours.
Yeah.
12.
12
A solid. So we come from a state where to drive up and down is like
Border
12
to
hours.
Border to border.
Yeah, and then like east to west, it's still going to take you, 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So we come
Yeah.
from a very big state where there's a lot of different. There's a lot of variety to our state. Now we're talking like 25 states over to Georgia. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of things that are lost in translation. There's going to be a lot of cultural. Dude, somebody told me they moved to Arkansas like a couple
Yeah.
years ago. I didn't know what the fuck Arkansas was. I had to look it up on a map. I have no idea where Arkansas was. Some of these states, like, I don't give a shit. Like, where the fuck what is an Arkansas?
My family's from Arkansas.
If there's no professional sports team in the top 3 for me, then I have no idea where you are. Straight up.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's a good way to gauge it. But yeah.
So there's absolutely, yes, there are some cultural differences between Atlanta, Georgia, and Southern California for sure. And that's nothing to be like embarrassed or ashamed or whatever. It's just a difference of geographical upbringings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But like, I don't know. My God, dude. Like, Southern California is where it's at. We had it made. We had everything. A little bit of everything.
For a long time, but yeah, it's getting pretty bad over here. I mean, you haven't lived here for a few years, but yeah,
I
pretty
don't know what
gnarly
it's
over
like
here.
anymore. Pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
All right.
So, should I play a little bit of Decatur Psalm, or should we just move on? Or what do you want to do?
I feel like we're winding down a little bit.
A little bit.
I mean, we're winding down.
We're like an hour 20 into the pod.
It's a decent amount of time. We've talked a lot about Outkast. We haven't talked a lot about the album itself, but I think that's good because Outkast is more of a. It's better talked about as a concept rather than an individual album, because again, I don't think Outkast gets the recognition they deserve outside of me and you. That's what I sounded like saying when I said that. Outside of like Stankonia and Speakerbox and Love Below, but I don't know. And it all spurred. We even talked about the Source Awards. It all spurred from like the Source Awards. Really,
no, let's get into that. Yeah.
When at like the height of the East Coast versus West Coast, when Suge Knight or Snoop Dogg really was like, y'all, you got love for the West Coast. You don't have love for Snoop Dogg. And then Suge says, if you want to come and be a part of a family where your producer's not all up in your videos and trying to be part of your game, and like that was a hard diss too. That was almost as hard as like Hit 'Em Up by Tupac. That was a direct shot, but that was face to face, right?
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't behind a recording studio and a track. That was like face to face, and he's straight. And like Suge Knight's he's a scary dude. He was a scary fucking dude. And documentaries and reenactments, everything I read about this guy, he was more gangster than anybody from Death Row.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, yeah, he just did not give a fuck because he had Suge Knight has no fear. Like, he will say whatever he wants and nobody will mess with him.
Because he's fucking massive. Yeah. And then at that point, he had enough money to where he could just pay for. And then he's still like trying to kill people. Just a couple of years ago, he's in prison now forever because he like ran over some guy. Yeah. He's like, oh, fuck that guy. Insane. Ran him over.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
So at the Source Awards, this whole East Coast versus West Coast feud comes on. Outkast gets recognition for Southern Playa, which credit to the Source
for
Awards
best new artist.
Yeah, for even giving like an award out to completely unknown teens, right?
Yeah,
way better than the Grammys have ever done. So they give an award out to a couple of nobodies from Atlanta, Georgia, and they come on and everybody boos them. They fucking boo them. They don't even know who they are and they boo them.
But also, that first album, Southern, that sold a lot of records for an unknown artist who was not on the East or West Coast. That sold a lot. So it's understandable why they would give them recognition.
I thought of it this way. I thought of it like a new hip hop album comes out. I hate the East Coast, so I'll give this a chance. Or I hate the West Coast, so I'll give this a chance. I wonder how many people actually bought the album because they were really interested, or how many people bought the album because it wasn't the opposite coast.
That's a good call. That is. But then, like I was telling you, I was listening to Snoop Dogg on the Joe Rogan podcast that he did like a month ago. And Snoop Dogg said that almost all of that beef was all because of the media. A lot of that was not because of the guys on the East and West Coast. Like, none of them really wanted that. During that time, a lot of the times they were collaborating with one another. They were hanging out with each other. The beef that we know now was not what it was portrayed as. So I think you kind of have to, I mean, like, this is what he's saying now in 2021, but maybe take that into consideration too. I mean, we all know the media fabricates things like really bad.
Yeah.
And this could have been a good instance of that. And then obviously Suge Knight really took off with it because he obviously loves the money. He loves the publicity. So maybe it really wasn't as big as we all thought it was.
I honestly, it's 100% like 50-50 because you can make a solid argument either way. West Coast coming from Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
Like movies, and the only bigger place to like produce movies in Hollywood is New York. and then they're feuding together. Like, come on. That's a little crazy. But then like people are dying. And it's not just Pac. Like we're talking about like the Rampart scandal for all of like LAPD that had ties to like the Bloods and the Crips, who had ties to Suge Knight, who had ties to Death Row Records, who had ties to Dre and Snoop. So like I don't know. I really don't know. But
then what was going on? What was going on the East Coast, like in New York? I mean, I don't know. Like you
I'm not. Yeah,
probably know more than me. But what was going on over there? Was it like because at the time wasn't like Rudy Giuliani? He was the main guy, and he was doing a lot of stuff to clean up the city. Some might say maybe there was a lot of that. I don't know. I really don't know.
It's an interesting take. And I don't know. I really don't know. And I've always been a firm believer that this beef was real because I think musical artists, I think they're stupid in general. I think they're good at making music, but I cannot stand when they start talking politics because that's not your forte.
True.
And if I wanted to hear your fucking stance on politics, I'd read your blog. If you don't have a blog, then shut the fuck up and play music. So I've always been a firm believer of musicians just shutting their mouths and playing music, especially when I go to your shows and pay good money to watch you play music. I don't open your mouth unless it's to sing.
Yeah.
So given that, I don't think artists are the smartest bunch. Nor do I think politicians are the smartest bunch either. But
they're smart. They're smart in a different way.
Yeah, they're smart in the way they're taking advantage of people and things like that. I don't know. Tyler, what are we talking about here?
I don't know. We've
Outkast, Source
so
Awards. Andre 3000 comes up on the Source Awards after getting booed, and everyone, no one knows who he is, and he says, you know what, man, fuck this. Like, I know y'all booing me, but we got something to say. That's all I got to say. And then leaves, drops the mic, and then leaves. And everybody, all his entire entourage leaves, and that was it. And everyone's like, who the fuck? Who are these guys? Let's listen to them. And they listen to them, and they realize, damn, they are really, really good. And it spurred a generation. T.I., Lil Wayne, who I still think if you just get by his kind of annoying vocals, phenomenal rapper. I
mean,
just pick up any of the Carters. There's like 5 or 6 of them. The first 3 Carters. Names, I'm telling you, man. I'm just telling you. It's really, really good stuffs.
I'm always open to new stuff. You know that. I will always listen to something new.
Well,
may not like it, but all right. So
and that's it for me. That's like literally all I got for Outkast. I am good giving my final thoughts. I'm good giving my ratings, and I'm good getting out of here for the night.
All right, man. You really are ready to go. Shit. I was going to say, what are your final thoughts? But I'm going to round it out with our famous 3-point rating system, where 3 is a perfect album. 2 is a good album you're going to continue to listen to. 1 is a bad album, but give it a shot. And 0 is just the worst thing ever. So no final thoughts, I guess?
No, I always would give final thoughts.
Okay, give final thoughts and give your rating. Come on.
That's what I said I'm going to do. I said I'm good with giving those.
I thought you... Okay.
You never listen. That's the problem. You don't listen.
But I do listen, but the way you
hear, but you don't listen. You hear, you hear, but you don't listen.
It's so annoying. It's so fucking annoying. But the way you say certain things makes it, I don't know.
The way you move.
See? So what are your final thoughts and then your rating? Go.
Outkast did exactly what they wanted us to do tonight. They wanted us to just talk about something else besides East Coast and West Coast. Even though we talked a lot about both of those things, we also brought into the equation like a different perspective and something else. And again, like Southern hip hop had already been around for many years prior to Outkast. Outkast didn't invent the wheel, but they for sure like reinvented the wheel as far as Southern hip hop goes. And honestly, yeah, like we don't know how long or hip hop gangster rap would have lasted because music is cyclical and it goes in turns or whatever, and it moves forward. But had it not been for Tupac dying, and had it not been for Outkast around the same time, and ATLiens came out the same year and everything, I don't know what would have happened, and it's easy to say that because that is what happened. But I don't know. I don't know what would have happened, and so I don't know. I think Outkast just did something really, really great for hip hop. They allowed conscious hip hop to be non-pretentious. They allowed hip hop in general to be not from the East Coast and West Coast. And they allowed for just hip hop to explore itself and be okay with being like emotional, with cutting deep from where you live, but rising above the poverty kind of aspect to it. And inevitably they allowed for fashion to really come into hip hop. Like, we didn't even brush upon the fashion of Outkast at all.
Right? Yeah.
But like, my God, especially like Andre 3000 and like Big Boy had his own style, but like the fashion alone that these guys brought to hip hop is damn near like unmatched.
Yeah.
And so
it took away from the baggy pants and you know, all that the baggy look of gangster rap or even like 80s hip hop, but made it more much more eccentric, especially
fitted
with Andre's
clothes.
Yeah.
Like Idlewild too is like the last of the era of but like that, the movie itself you should watch at some point. It's not very good. It's just an extended music video, but like, man, the set pieces are solid, very, very solid. And whoever was in charge of like set design did a phenomenal job, and they should be paid handsomely for it, because that was the only saving grace of that movie. But I love Outkast. I love Outkast more than ever now, and I cannot wait to make up for lost time. And I'm like super excited because I'm gonna listen to this album again tomorrow and see what I missed when we talked about it. But again, I think for me personally, this is my top 10 favorite hip hop records of all time. I think this is a perfect 3. This is a perfect 3 for me.
Oh my God.
I think everything about it is absolutely fucking perfect. I think this is a perfect 3. I think
my God.
Aquemini is a perfect 3.
What?
That's my number 2. I think Speaker Box is like a 2.7, 2.6, and I think Stankonia is a 2.5.
Wow. Dude, I've heard so much silly boy talk in my life, but that was probably the silliest.
I'll keep going. I think Southern Play It, I think that's a 2.25. And then I think Idlewild is a 1. And I think Love Below is a sub 1.
That's a big jump. That's a big jump.
It's arguably the biggest jump I've ever done in the pod.
Damn. Okay.
Southern Play is a 2.25 and Idlewild is a 1.
Wow.
And Love Below is just, we shouldn't even talk about that ever again.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Dude, like, we didn't even get into like the artwork, like
I know the artwork is so cool, right?
It's so awesome, and the fact that like Big Boy's hat, like the artist fucked up on his face, and so he added that hat, but he always wore a hat anyway, so it just matched so perfectly, and the artwork is just so eclectic, and it's so extraterrestrial, and this whole Outkast vibe, and they wanted to call themselves the Misfits.
Yeah,
right out the gate, they wanted to be called the Misfits,
not even knowing there's a punk band.
But they didn't even know. Like all accounts that I read, but they didn't know who the Misfits were. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even like looking into it, they didn't think like, oh, there's already a really successful punk band called the Misfits. It was never like that. It was always like, oh, there's another artist called the Misfits. It was always like a throwaway thing. Like, they never looked into it, which made me kind of like not respect them a little bit, because I don't know.
But they're also, from an entirely different, generation.
It's the East Coast still. It's a long coast, but it's still the East Coast.
It's a very long coast from Jersey to Atlanta.
Yeah, it's a long coast. It's the East Coast. Yeah, 3.0, easy, perfect record. Duh.
Duh. Okay, so my final thoughts. This week has been very eye-opening in a positive and negative sense. That, like we were talking about earlier, there's some bad records. They put out some bad stuff, straight up. ATLiens is a really good record. I really enjoyed it. There are a couple moments, like I said, that were pretty. They were duds, like in Babylon. Dude, that almost a stinker. That chorus, man, one of the worst ever. And the lyrics, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. That was so difficult for me, and it almost kind of killed it for me a little bit, because, I mean, I'm probably a little bit stupid. Who knows? But
well, I know.
I couldn't get into it. It was tough. That was tough for me. But overall, I understand what they were going for, and kind of knowing where they were coming from, how old they were, and they accomplished a lot in a very short amount of time, and that is very impressive. And this record is really good. It's not perfect. I'll tell you that much. It is not a perfect 3. It is not a perfect 3. I will give this I will give this record a 2 out of 3. A solid 2.
Okay.
A solid 2. I would go back to it. I would get this on vinyl if it was at a decent price.
At a $20 price point?
A $20 I would get this record. Okay. Maybe $25. But other than that, I would not pay that much more for this record. There's no way. It's good, but dude, Stankonia and Speakerbox, dude, those albums are unreal. Those are so good. Those are like 2.75, maybe 2.8. Those aren't perfect, but they're damn close.
Damn, you really got to listen to his first solo album, Big Boys.
I'm really interested because Speakerbox really blew me away. That was so good. It was so fucking good. And I didn't expect it after thinking I was going to like, Andre's stuff more, but dude, Love Below was garbage. It was trash. It was terrible.
It's impressively bad.
Yeah. Embarrassingly bad, but yeah, so I give ATLiens a 2 out of 3, give it a perfect 3 out of 3, which is crazy. It's wild, but whatever. What are you going to do? So that's all I got. Do you have anything else on this one?
I don't. That's it. That's all, kid.
Okay. Well, thank you all for listening. Go to Apple Podcasts, rate, review, and subscribe to us on there. Follow us on social media at Asinine Radio. Stay tuned for the next episode. It's going to be a weird one, but it'll be fun. So, once again, thank you all for listening, and that's it. That's all. You really believe that?
I do. I do believe that, yes.
You really believe that stupid thing that you just said? You do.
I do.
You're unbelievable. You're fucking unbelievable. You're zero credibility. All your credibility is gone, washed away, out the window. Bye-bye. That's it.
And my God, it needed Big Boy so bad. And you think like, oh, Big Boy's, I'm talking about you specifically. When you think like, Big Boy's, he's the worst member. He's the worst member of Outkast, and Andre's so much better.
And I haven't even said anything yet. I literally have not said anything yet.
It's so funny.
Jesus Christ.
He's the worst member of Outkast. Andre's so much better. Yeah, clear, case in the pudding or whatever the people say. It's not, because this track needed Big Boy so bad, and without him, it would have been just trash. Oh. But
like a lot of them. Like it wasn't just like one song he did with them. It was like every record from every record. Every record from Stankonia on. It was so cool.